What is going on, everybody? Hopefully everybody can hear me okay and see everything okay. Please let me know in the chat if you can hear me, and we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna see if I can paint this guy in like an hour. So I think that'll be fun. Probably using mostly contrast paints and maybe some dry brushing and stuff. We'll see. It depends on how fast things dry, but the plan will just be maybe go about an hour and see what we can get done. So I think I'm going to be using my old trusty beat up size 6 ghost brush here. So you can see this brush has been through the ringer, but it's still holding up pretty darn good. And I've been using it for over a year. Not too bad for like a $3 brush. So you can get these on eBay, link in the description. I think the easiest way to do this would be maybe the skin, and then maybe figure out this cloak, and then just start working on some of the details. So I think for the skin, I'm going to do something, I think I'm going to go Griffhound Orange. It's going to be brown eventually, but we're going to start with this on the skin. So if you're going to paint along with me, let me know in the chat what you're working on. Or if you got any questions, we got this guy that I will be working on at some point. I'm trying to get a few things finished before I work on him, so I'm really excited to paint him. I don't have him planned out exactly how I'm gonna paint him yet, but he's such a good model. So, and I actually finished, I'll show you this one real quick. Finished basing and painting up the unmade. So we'll get pictures of those up for Instagram, but I did kind of like some blood, just kind of random pools and stuff. And I didn't really carry the blood up onto the model at all. I could have, but I kind of liked it just as is. I thought it looked pretty good. So this worked out really well. I did the, I wanted to just keep it really kind of warm, really focusing heavy on like warm and cool tones. So the rocks are kind of cool grays with kind of warm brown shadows. Really warm bright red blood with kind of a gray-green ground color. Anyway, I think that came out really sharp, and I have a whole warband of them. We'll get pictures of them up. I'll show you one more, and then we'll get started because I'm still brainstorming, and they look good on camera. So here's the joyous one. And yeah, I think they came out pretty darn cool. So hopefully you like those. Hopefully, if you were around, I painted almost every single one of these models on stream. So that's fun. But I did the basing off. I didn't do the basing on stream, but that's because I didn't know how I was going to do it. So I just kept playing around with it and adding to it. So I think for sure we're going to go in a lot of thinner layers with the contrast paint. So we're going to be using the contrast medium. And I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to take this contrast medium and I'm going to just put it in its own little thing. So I'm going to, hopefully that's, so I'm going to make a little, I don't know, a little water bottle cap full of contrast medium, but I'm going to add a few things to that just because. So I'm going to add some ultra matte varnish. Contrast paint has a bit of a tendency to dry rather kind of satin and glossy. And I am going to just put a couple drops of flow improver because I like flow improver. And there we go. That's going to be our, basically our paint medium. And we're going to use this to thin down all our paints with. I don't think I'm going to use the wet palette on this one. I think I'm just going to go with just a little plastic palette here. Hopefully we can see that okay. Yeah, that looks fine. So, all right, looking good. Let's go. We're going to start off with Griffhound Orange contrast paint. That might be 1-to-1 mix, just about a brush dip of each. And I'm going to start in trying to kind of get in the deeper areas. So the plan, if you're wanting to use what I'm doing here on your own models, maybe you're going to paint your own Beastman, or you got a D&D kind of monster you want to do this on. The plan is I'm going to go orange and then turn it brown with a brown wash or a brown ink. And then hopefully the orange will leave it with this nice kind of fiery undertone. I don't hate it, but when GW and model companies leave like a little hole in like a cape or something, like, oh, you can see his leg now. It's just a pain in the butt. Literally, his butt is what I have to get in there and paint now because you can see it. But anyway, we'll just try to work this orange on. The plan, hopefully, is these layers will be rather... This isn't the normal thick coat technique of a contrast paint tutorial, because hopefully these layers will be mostly dry quicker. And I think I might do a real muted blue for his cape. So maybe he's like a Zinch Beastman. That could be cool. Or we could do a Nurgle Beastman and do like a camo green kind of color. Which also is not a terrible idea. Hold on, I see some, like some hair stuck in this model. I actually got this model off a friend. I tried to clean it up. It was a little beat up. I think it was dusty. I cleaned it up a bit, but I guess I missed. Oh well, whatever. We're moving on. I guess I missed some of this, maybe dust or something, and like primed it into his... I primed the dust onto that crevice of the model there. So my favorite complementary colors in painting and stuff is blue and orange. I think it always looks pretty cool together. And this guy, we're using him for his spell casting abilities in Warcry. So I'm going to go with the blue. Blue cape. And we can be pretty sloppy here, because we'll separate all the details and clean up anything we need to in the highlight stage. And there's a good chance we'll hide anything we don't like with the washes. So, should be low stress. I didn't time what time I started him, but let's see, we've been going for about 10 minutes, so maybe I started at about 5. Just see what we can get done in like an hour. I'm trying to see if his ear, does he have an ear? Yeah, he does. When you're working in these kind of washes and stuff, it's better that you hit everything. And I mean, you could hit everything and it's okay to be a little messy. Hold on, let me see if I can get this string out of there. Oh, I don't think my tweezers are clamping down, which is annoying. I was gonna say it's better to be a little messy and make sure you get everything with the wash than miss spots and then try to match it. The variations could be fine. Yeah, these wow, he's got actually quite a bit of, I should have cleaned him a little better. I was excited to paint him, so after I cleaned off mold lines, I just primed right over him. He was painted with kind of thick paint, but I didn't realize there was a lot of, I don't know if it's dust or, there we go. Oh, I see it right here too. You see that on the, that's kind of annoying. It's gonna ruin our, it's ruining our speed. It's okay though. One of those things, I guess you don't really look at the model close enough sometimes until you start painting. And then that's when you notice things like that. But all right, back to the size 6. There he is. Primed basically with, or base coated with Griffhound Orange. I'm gonna go, let's go with, I think I own that Skeleton Horde one. Come on guys, do I own Skeleton Horde? I'm almost positive I do. Oh man, where is it? Oh, there it is. Alright, Skeleton Horde. Not very creative, obviously, but let's just hit the skeletons with the skull on his staff. I think I'll hit the ropes too. Remember, we can separate all these colors in the highlight stage. It doesn't have to be completely separated right now. So like his horns, I can make them a different color with washes and stuff than the skull and the staff. But when I'm just base coating them and blocking them in here, I can use the same color. That's fine. My Skeleton Horde seems awfully weak. Okay. And I'm going to go Gore Grunt of Fur. Thinned out. And we'll hit the staff. One thing I've been having a lot of fun with on these Warcry models is, if you've listened to some of my streams or some of my videos, I've been kind of approaching stuff with the idea that, maybe I'll sell it when we stop playing, or, maybe the model's for sale. So I'm going to paint it to a level that I know I can sell it for a pretty good price, make it worth it. That way I know it looks good when I play, and people will like it later on. If it's for sale, it will, sell for a good price, maybe $75 or something. So, all right, now we're gonna make a blue. I think we're gonna make a blue gray. So I think to do that, I'll start with Basilicum gray, or Griff Charger gray. Yeah. Actually, Griff Charger gray is already a blue gray, so we'll just start with that. So we're going to start with Griff Charger gray. I'm going to thin it out a bit with my mixture, my medium there. This has about 0 covering power. So I'll add a little bit more to it. It's okay if the colors mix. See, but you can see like right there, it's not covering the orange, but that's okay. Like I said, we're gonna fix all that later. And not even fix it, this is just painting. We're just blocking in colors, and then later we can adjust for those things. Oh, because I did this kind of I'm gonna go with a big scoop of the fresh to try to really stick it back in this cape. Anywhere the blue mixes with the orange or brown, it's going to desaturate it because they're complementary colors. So it's okay if anything's wet and mixing. Makes no difference really to the end product. If anything, it'll actually help because the colors will look more in harmony with each other if they have traces of surrounding colors in them, like they would in actual real life. Oh, I missed his bicep. I was even saying it's more important to make sure you don't miss anything than it is to be neat. And I missed. Cool, we can even take like a little sponge here and just kind of dab on him. Just dabbing all over. That's just going to help remove any pooling. That's going to take a long time to dry for this kind of speed paint attempt we're doing here. I'm going to actually load up more and re-hit the bottom of this cape. Then hopefully at the end that'll look darker near the bottom. Alright, and because I'm a dum-dum and I missed that bicep, I gotta go back with the Griff Hound orange. One of the real problems with that too is I want that orange to be dry. Now really you know, nothing I did here was spectacular. It's messy. It's not going to win any awards. But if you look at him, he's actually already more or less battle ready if you're worried about things like having your model painted for an event. You can get them knocked out pretty quick with these contrast paints. And I'll be able to show you that they can get pretty cool by the end. There we go. What kind of base do we want? Let's see, he's going to be blue and orange. Maybe we go in like a gray color. Let's just throw this on blue-gray. Let's try that. This is a lot of how I paint. I'm just playing, basically, right? This is just some color I don't really use. So this way I waste some of it by putting it on this base. And eventually I can throw this pot of paint away since I don't use it. Okay, it's not dark enough for me right off the bat. So I'm going to take this sepia ink and mix it right into that. Maybe a little more. And maybe do we dare? Do we dare? Why not? Maybe we'll put a little touch of this brown wash in there too. We're just making a muddy color. Literally mud. If you can tell, I've used also blue and browns, which is what the model's going to be. So there we go. We're just making a dark neutral color. And I switched over to this beat up GW brush because when you're scrubbing wash into this really rough gravelly texture I used, it's very damaging on the brush. So don't use a good brush. Even though my other one's also completely beat up and not in any shape or form in good condition still, although it is very usable still. For this kind of task, I kind of switch to the same brush every time. So just a tip, if you're wondering why your brushes are getting damaged, it could be when you're doing stuff like this with maybe a brush that has a tip, and then when you're done, it no longer has a good tip. So be aware. Kind of loaded it in there. Looks good. I'm actually bringing it up onto his hooves as well, just to make them dark. Cool. Now I've mixed way. Oh, almost spilled it. I mixed too much for that, but that's okay. And then we'll take the little sponge here. These sponges I saw, James Wapple's always using them. He's usually like wiping away stuff, but I'm just gonna kind of dab. I'm just using it to kind of push in and kind of absorb a little bit of extra. You can see it actually picked up quite a bit. So, oh, and you know what I should have done? Oh, that's kind of nice. We'll use the sponge to kind of dab in some variation in his cape here. Yeah, dirty him up a little bit. That's cool. Don't worry, that'll all be blended together better eventually. But oh, what I should have done actually is I should have put some matte medium into that wash, because I would like the dirt to be matte when it's all said and done. Now I think that's looking pretty good. I don't know if I've used this one. Should I use purple. Sorry, my bad. I can't remember what I used this one for, but it's called Sigmar Brown. It looks like it's open. Oh yeah, this is the one paint I spilled. So that's fun. Hopefully we won't spill it again. So this one's really dark. So we're going to take this Sigmar Brown mixed with our matte medium flow improver. Maybe even a little bit of that wash we used on the base. Why not? It's really going to dirty up our matte medium, but it looks very intense still. So I'm going to take a little bit of distilled water. That should be good. And some matte medium, AK Ultra Matte. Cool. And I think we're going to use this as, yeah, that looks good. Let's wash all the orange. Even by mixing a little bit of that base color, and by base I mean his actual base, that brown wash we made, by mixing a little bit of that wash into my wash I'm using on this guy's fur, you know, that helps tie him in. It makes him look like he's in the same environment. All the light on a model would actually be bouncing off colors in the environment. So all the colors on a model would be reflecting onto other colors on the model. So this is just a way to tie him in, and it was really simple. And I'm going to use this on the stick too. And what the heck, we'll put it on this skull. We're going to put it on a lot of stuff. This is going to be, it's basically our dark neutral wash. It's dark. It's kind of a neutral brown color. It's a dark neutral wash. And it's kind of like an all-over shadow color now. Do it on the horns. And his fur. There we go, he's getting brown. Browner anyway. Oh, and don't want to miss this opening here. Cool. So there he is. Now let's take, I want to make, so I'm either going to have to let it completely dry, which I'm not going to do. So I'm going to solve this problem by making kind of a gray-blue paint. We'll go with somber gray here. Oh, that just sprayed awkwardly. See, you can even get a little messy with the dropper bottles. They're not perfect. Look at us making a mess here on live television. Anyway, we're going to go somber gray. I'm going to put a hit of Griff Charger gray into my somber gray. Also, please, if you're watching, feel free to jump in the chat, hit the like button. Okay, so there's actually quite a bit of somber gray in there, and more than I'm going to need. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start again in here and pull from there so I don't have to mix this all the way down. So I'm going to do one full brush. I'm going to thin it out there. I might take a scoop of that. I'll take 2 scoops of that kind of brown wash. There we go. Let's test it. It could be a little bluer, I think, but let's use this. Hopefully, no, we got to go a little more somber gray. We're going to use this. Got a little too much paint on the brush, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. Definitely got too much paint on the brush. Because I completely covered up all the washes I just did on that. So I'm using this as kind of base coating, but in a kind of sloppy way. To kind of separate out our cloak here. And we still got all the options in the world. This could become a much brighter blue later if we wanted. Could stay this kind of muted gray blue. I think that looks pretty nice. And we're going to use this too to clean up where like we kept stabbing into our cloak with trying to hit the leg in there. Oops, got a little bit on his forearm there. You can hear somebody outside in the apartment complex. At the grill or whatever. But it's 4 in the morning. So that's weird. So you can see we left some of that kind of brown in there, but now we've kind of pulled out and separated the cloak. From the rest of the miniature. And I think it's looking pretty good. So there we go. He's looking cool. Oh, actually, he's got kind of pants, not pants, but like a loincloth. Problem though is it's a little bit wet in here still because of the pooling of the other washes and paints. Oh, and it kind of comes up over here. There we go. He's got kind of his blue outfit on now. Just trying to make sure the main areas I really want to make sure I get are like if there's orange or brown on the cloak and that kind of material right next to where an orange or brown spot is, because I don't want it to look like it was just sloppy brushwork. I want it to look like it's in color harmony. Even though, if you've been watching, it's been fairly loose. Oh, sorry. So there he is. I'm gonna go with the old trusty. What is that? Actually, let's go with pure Sigmar brown, which is a really dark brown. And I'm just going to use a little bit of that to block in his little bracer. And I might take a little bit of Sigmar brown, maybe mix it in our wash here. I'm just going to selectively kind of paint in some dark spots on these rocks. Kind of like painting in the shadows. Especially around where his feet are, make it look like he has some weight on him. Cool. All right. He's still a little orange, so I think we're gonna go over to Old Faithful Agrax Earthshade. Always a trusty paint. This one didn't turn out to be any miraculous speed paint because I'm just basically playing with these washes. So because I haven't got to the highlights yet, which maybe I have to do that tomorrow. When I get to the highlights, then it'll start to pop a little bit better. Definitely want this Agrax Earthshade to pool next to any area there's orange and blue meeting each other. Always want to make sure you get really good pooling in between the fingers, like really dark lines. Makes them pop. If you squeeze your fist together, the lines in between your fingers are usually pretty dark because it's such a dark shadow having the skin pressed up against each other like that. But especially at this miniature scale, it's just nice to be able to see the separation in fingers from a distance away. And once again, I'm going to just use this on the hair, the horns. And I think we'll go ahead and do it on the staff too. I don't know if it's showing up super good, but I mean the horns, the fur, and the staff have been a lot of the same washes, but because of maybe a little slightly different base coat or whatever here and there, there's just still some variation in there. What the heck is that? Is that his body? Guess so. Cool, so not a very exciting chat tonight, i.e. nobody has joined the chat. One of the reasons I do these streams is to chit chat with people. So when nobody joins, well, it's not that exciting. All of this has just been with a size 6. I'm going to go back to our kind of gray blue here, and I noticed a couple spots that I could have hit a little better. Cool. Looking good. I think I missed this guy's shoulder. Go back to the Agrax. Don't think if I missed that shoulder, or if I didn't miss that shoulder, at the very least I didn't put enough there because it wasn't dark. Now I'm going to go ahead and switch over to Death Shroud Clear. If you want like an acrylic panel liner, this is my favorite choice. This one's really good too, but it's enamel. So we gotta wait for the model to dry and then use that and then let that dry before we can keep going. But in the acrylic situation, this Shroud clear, like, so it's like a black ink, but it doesn't stain as much. So I'm gonna try and use it to increase the shadows and all the little details of the cloak here, but not losing the blue completely. And actually, I don't know if it's a good idea. I was going to say I got a good idea. Let's just call it an idea. After we put this on, I'm going to actually get a little bit of the blue wash, or like a blue ink. Give this another coat, but with like a more blue. He's a little kind of stormy gray blue, which is fine. I think we want to go a little bluer. Definitely want a lot of it in those recess areas back in there, because if this is supposed to be kind of a shadow wash, well, those areas would be heavy in shadow. Hopefully our Zenithal Prime is doing some of the work for us. Cool. Let's put a little bit on his hair up here, just to try to separate it from the horns a little bit. Cool. Maybe a little bit down there too. All right, I like that. Now, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna go blue tone from Army Painter. And basically we're gonna glaze. Oh. This one's pretty dark. Now we'll just take right from here, from our dirty matte medium pool. A little bit of water. Some of that matte medium. There we go. See that? Let's see what we got here. Oh yeah. So add a little bit of that blue kind of saturation back into the color. It's kind of like a glaze or a filter, but I'm putting it on real heavy like a wash. Plus the Death Shroud clear is likely still wet in most places. So hopefully it's going to mix and just kind of blend together. Yeah, so now that he's a little more blue, once we highlight him, we could go even, pretty decently blue. I don't know if I'm going to go that blue, but we could. But it's kind of nice to be like, well, let's say if I was painting him just for the purpose of selling, because like I said, I'm going to use him in my Warcry warband, but I'm not even sure if I'll sell him. But I like to paint as if one day maybe I'll sell him. Helps me want to do a good job. So it's like, yeah, he's going to be blue enough that maybe he looks like a Zinch guy. but he's not going to be so blue that if a potential buyer had like a Corn or Nurgle Beastman army, that they wouldn't want to use him because he's, you know, neon pink and blue and looks full on Tzeentch. He just has that hint of it with some of his blue tones in his cloak. Now, unfortunately, that Death Shroud clear does dry pretty glossy. And it's going to take a little while to dry. Let's see if we can... Let's try... This might not work very well, but we'll try it. I'm going to go with Hammer Hall Khaki by P3. No reason other than it's right in front of me. I'm going to take the size 1 Ghost Brush. Shipping on Kickstarter has begun. So look forward to getting those in the mail for all the backers. They'll be available on eBay for people soon. Well, a couple months. I don't know if this skull's dry. It's probably dry enough though. Let's see if we can't just use this khaki color. Get some highlight on it. Nice. Looking good. Give that a rinse and a wipe off on the towel here. And one more rinse and one more wipe. I think this Doom Bull brown would be a good color for his skin. But I don't think we can go to do it yet because it's still lots of wet spots. I'm going to bust out, let's see what size. I don't know what size this one is. It's pretty beat up though. I think it was a size 1. This is one of the original samples from the very, very first Ghost Brushes. So still kicking over 2 years now, or almost 2 years now. Pretty nice if you take care of them. And I'm not doing anything special, I'm just not destroying them. I'll pick out this little bone. There's a little detail there. Something kind of nice about the old... I mean, he's not like a super old model, but he's definitely from a time of GW just put one little bone on his belt, not 100 trinkets and 20 pieces of flair. And just while we have this color, this is the same color we actually dry brushed the skull with, but I'm going to just use it to basically dab on highlights as the first highlight. And there we go. It's effectively like adding a highlight, even though it's the same color, just because it's more coverage with the brush. There we go. Now it's ready for an even lighter highlight. That area actually looks like it's probably metal on a stick. Everything else I don't think is metal. Well, let's see what time we're at here. 56 minutes. Feel free to jump in the chat if you guys are watching. I'm checking in every once in a while. Here I can talk. But probably winding down a little bit. It looks like quite a bit of this Death Shroud, blue tone wash is still wet. I don't want to pull it off yet. And I'm going to add some probably highlight color to it. And then I'll go in and pick out all the stitching. But I want to finish the kind of blues of the highlights and stuff first. You know, we'll highlight this little rope bracelet with something. When I highlight his skin, I won't highlight probably his like chin, his little beard, his little thigh hair there, maybe his little hair around his ankles. Maybe even wash that one more time with Agrax, even darken it further. And then that'll create separation between the skin and the highlight color. Or the skin and the fur color. But yeah. So that's how you would... I mean, more or less it was all washes, except for a little bit on the bone. He looks pretty good. Like, one, I can already tell just from painting enough that I know he's going to look pretty cool when I'm done. Because now he's got these really deep, rich shadow colors, these rich orange browns and smoky blues and stuff. So once the highlights start coming on, these shadows are going to stay nice and saturated. Not saturated, basically interesting. It's like adding interest to your shadows by putting color into them, temperature. His cape's cool, he's warm. Cool as in temperature cool, kind of on the blue scale. But yeah, I think he's looking pretty good. Just for fun, I'm going to go ahead and take this military shader. Not a lot. Put a little bit of matte medium with it. We'll go back to our nice beat up GW shade brush. Stir that in. And maybe a touch of flow improver. And maybe drop the paintbrush on my shirt. And I'm going to selectively put this just on the areas of the smallest rocks. So it's like maybe there's moss or some kind of different dirt or something growing or getting trapped in those small rocks, or maybe just those kind of rocks are a slightly different color. Let's put a little bit there. So I'm kind of avoiding these bigger rocks that he's standing on. There's no right or wrong answer to doing this. It's just a matter of, it'll be a little more interesting if there's a little bit more tonal variation in these rocks. The actual tones don't matter. I could have done purple, could have done red, whatever. Cool. I like just saving my water bottle tops to be little kind of one-use pallet cups. And it's already almost 4:30 here, so I think I am going to try and go to sleep before 6 in the morning. So maybe what we'll do is get him finished up tomorrow. You know, let's do this real quick. Bone white. I'm just going to go straight on to this. This is an air paint, so it's thinner, but now this might not be a great idea because my dry brush here is actually damp, so you can see the hairs are kind of sticking together because it's damp. So, and this is an air paint, so it's not usually the best to dry brush with an air paint. But we'll just try to make sure we spend a little extra time getting it off. We can test it on the back of our hand. See, it's streaking. That means it's damp. So we're going to go slow, controlled. Dry brush. And this is not bright enough for me, so let me grab, let's go Screaming Skull. Ooh, my Screaming Skull is nasty. See if we can get any on there. Looks like my Screaming Skull might belong in the garbage. Yeah, it's the Screaming Skull's not dry brushing. It's actually almost doing like a glaze. It looks so funky. Let's see what's down there. Oh, paint. All right, let's try to use that paint on the paper towel. Just because we know our brush is a little bit more damp than it should be for dry brushing, I'm doing almost like an overbrush, wet brush. I'm using kind of a light brush pressure. Yeah, that's okay. I got an idea. While we got it out, going back to my big size 6, I'm going to take some of this green wash that we used on the base. Kind of selectively apply it into some of these shadow parts. So it's not, doesn't look green, but it's got, when somebody looks at it, it's just got that hint of something's happening there, and it's interesting. So there we go. Probably can't even really see it, but it just gives it that little extra compositional effect of now there's that same green wash down in the base and up here on the skull. So that's cool. I guess Mr. Screaming Skull will live to fight another day, but I think that belongs in the garbage. And yeah, man, there we go. I think it looks pretty cool. Once this base was done, once I highlight, even just dry brushing the base right now, he would start to pop. And then basically if I just hit this cloak, like I could actually ignore his skin, just highlight his face and maybe his fingers, maybe this knee. It's probably almost all about I will highlight the ears. Yeah, because the Zenithal Prime kind of shows, you know, his light on the top of the knee there. There's a little bit of light on his thigh there. Light on his arm up here. So we'll probably try to follow what the Zenithal Prime kind of did for us. And then the real standout element is going to be this big cloak. Once we put some highlight under that. You have options when you have a model like this. Just a kind of a design standpoint. I could keep the cloak very dark and highlight his skin way up to almost even flesh tone color highlights. So he's almost bright in this dark cape, which would look really nice. Or I could just highlight his flesh tones up to kind of a mid to mid-light kind of range, and then do a combination of light and dark to really pop the cape, but keep the cape dark next, you know, so pretty dark lines where they're going to meet each other to separate the elements. Got options there. While I got the green out, I'm going to put some in that crease of his thigh there. Once again, this could be any color. Could be purple, red, blue again. I just have the green out, so just to darken that line right there. Cool. So yeah, I mean, I could easily pick out the little bracelet and the rope and the little piece of metal, whatever little trinket thing on here, highlight that stick, and he'd be done. He's basically playable as is if you just paint the rim of his base. I wonder. Hold on, I might try something. What color is that? That's too yellow. What about this one? Dead flesh. Kind of green. But too bright to jump the highlight up on the horns just yet. But you can see there's still quite a bit of wet wash and stuff on them, so it's getting late. I'm just gonna let that dry. I'll get back to him tomorrow. Hopefully I'll finish him tomorrow. Honestly, he's such a simple model. I thought I would have him done in about an hour. But I was having so much fun playing with the washes and just kind of adjusting colors. So, good start. He's ready for highlights. Got a lot of deep, interesting shadows painted in. He basically looks like he is, standing in the dark. And then once we add those highlights, it'll brighten him up. So, got a couple other guys here to work on soon. I don't know if I'll do them on stream necessarily, but I'm trying to get these Deepkin models blocked in. So here's one that's a little bit more done. I'm trying to block in colors And then I'm going to hit them with a oil wash. So, got some Deepkin archers and characters to do. Very excited to get this guy going. So we got a lot of fun stuff here. And also I got goblins for my goblin warband. So got these two guys started. I got a loon boss. You know, I got sneaky snufflers. So we got stuff to paint. It's going to be fun. Look, I guess real quick, since I'm about to sign off, let me go ahead and show you my squiggies. So the squiggies are finished up. Unfortunately, I really should have painted these two guys who are like the herders and a part of the unit, I guess. I should have painted them at the exact same time. I mean, they're not going to be painted the same as the squig, so it's not a big deal. But to have these squigs finished, it was like a great satisfaction, and then realizing I have 2 more models I have to do. But I'm not 100% sure on how I washed the bases. I'm pretty sure it was Baneblade Brown here that's sitting here. So hopefully those 2 goblins, I can match their bases to these guys. There's 10 of them. Or I'll have to... well, I'll figure it out. It'll be... Regardless, I'll be able to match it close enough so they look good. But that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Next time, I think what I'll do is I'll actually highlight them on camera. That way you can see in kind of a 2-part video how to basically paint in all the shadows. And then the next one will paint in all the highlights. So we've been going for... How long have we been going? 1 hour and 12. So, I mean, I would think at least 20 minutes of that is just messing around and seeing what we can get that's interesting for the stream. So I think honestly could have done this much quicker, but he's looking good. And hopefully you enjoyed it. So please subscribe. Please like the video. Please leave a comment down below. I'd love to chat with you guys. And I got a lot of stuff to paint. So I'm not going to be done anytime soon. And probably be doing some videos about 9th edition 40k. So if you're interested in that. Currently the only game I'm playing right now is Warcry, because we're still in lockdown here in Arizona, more or less. So I've just been playing some Warcry with a friend or two. And that's all I got going on. So I'm not super pumped about 9th edition 40k, because I don't see myself even being able to play it in the near future, since all the game stores here in Arizona are closed. So we'll see. I'll be kind of the spectator with armies that doesn't get to play. So talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for watching. Adios.